It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
What happens if a rapper who recently served time in prison chooses to rob the person who helped make him famous? POOH SHIESTY had an ankle monitor, a second chance, and a platinum career. The evidence he left behind was absurd, and he tossed all three away in one afternoon. He was put on by the original. In October 2025, POOH SHIESTY left the federal prison with a second chance at life and an ankle monitor. He discovered a brand new case 5 months later. This time, it said that he ran up on the man who signed his checks. The feds were paying closer attention to what the streets were saying. Born in Memphis, Tennessee, on November 8, 1999, Lontrell Donald Williams Jr. rose through the city's drill scene in the late 2000s. Rap from Memphis has always been unique. It's unedited, raw, bass-heavy, and painful. SHIESTY was a fantastic fit for the role. He became well known with his 2019 song, Hell Night, with Big 30. And there was no denying the hype. The trap god himself, Gucci Mane, who had been supporting up-and-coming Southern musicians for more than 10 years, called by the middle of 2020, SHIESTY signed with Gucci's 1017 Records, which is distributed by Atlantic, on June 19, 2020. The world saw their collaboration, Still Together, as official. SHIESTY was selected, and the mentor-protege relationship was set in stone. SHIESTY was meant to be the focal point of Gucci's 1017 hybrid program, which was a combination of street credibility branding and artist development. It came up quickly. SHIESTY's 2021 mixtape, SHIESTY Season, achieved platinum status, while Lil Durk's Back in Blood was becoming increasingly popular worldwide. Its social media, streaming, radio, that record was unavoidable. SHIESTY was positioned as the face of the new 1017 and featured on So Icy Summer. After Gucci made a significant investment in him, the culture appeared to be following the blueprint. Everyone eats, Gucci identifies talent, and the artist is developed. When it works, that is the label game. Gucci's whole post-prison approach focused on restoring 1017 as a powerhouse and signing street-authentic Southern talent, and the idea was working better than anyone had anticipated, with SHIESTY going platinum right out of the gate. However, the streets continued to tug. SHIESTY was charged with armed robbery and shooting in Florida in October 2020. Then, in 2021, a Miami strip club incident produced even more smoke, and he pleaded guilty to federal weapons conspiracy in January 2022 and received a 63-month sentence. He spent about 3 years incarcerated in a federal prison in Pennsylvania. Gucci was still on the track list when he released SHIESTY Season Certified in 2022. Even from behind the wall, from the outside, the relationship between the artist and the label appeared strong. The music was still being released. The checks continued to clear. The tension between them had not yet reached a boiling point.
Supersede indictment, man. This the indictment out the original indictment, so we got indicted twice. So they smacked us with more charges, nigga.
After landing, SHIESTY lashed out his documents to the Globe on his live stream in an attempt to prove to everyone that he maintained his composure during the entire bid. Even though he was repeating himself and spoke at 100 miles per hour, it was obvious that he did not fold, and he wanted everyone to know that neither he nor his co-defendants gave up when the feds attempted to break them.
Thinking that shit will break us or make us, conspiracy to possess firearms and further the drug trafficking, violent crimes, the 3 other sided you will ever see.
The issue is that demonstrating your strength and intelligence are two rather different things, because SHIESTY allegedly initiated one of the most careless licks in rap history just hours after that live feed, according to federal prosecutors. Before the day was out, he allegedly caught a brand new federal case after displaying his documentation on camera. In October 2025, SHIESTY was allowed to return to house confinement while wearing an ankle monitor. Freedom is not the same as supervised release. A PO is keeping an eye on everything you do. There is a curfew for you. You are unable to depart from the jurisdiction. A firearm cannot be touched. No further charges can be brought against you. Forget about it. You will immediately return to the box if you violate any of those requirements. No inquiries were made. No second chances. Your time and mobility are owned by the government until the end of that period of observation. For those who are unfamiliar with the concept of supervised release,
You're not some wild horse who can go out on the prairie and just go, do whatever you want to other wild horses.
criminal defense lawyer Bruce Rivers explained it simply. It seems that Shiesty didn't give a damn.
No, you are a ward of the state. You still have to be where you're supposed to be. Otherwise, they can put you back in prison. Period. Hard stop. End of story.
He was reportedly dissatisfied with the 1017 contract after his release. The funds, the royalties, the limitations on creativity, and the hiring. Yo Gotti's CMG records were generating a lot of buzz in the streets. A transfer from Gucci's group to Gotti's camp would have been a significant power shift in Southern rap politics, and Memphis and Atlanta have always had that silent rivalry. However, Gucci was not going to overlook his greatest artist. Shiesty's reputation had grown from a local Memphis act to a national celebrity thanks to his hard work and financial investments. That contract remained in place. Gucci had already cleaned up at 1017 in October 2024, keeping Shiesty and Fugiano, but cutting the majority of his team for financial reasons. Shiesty was one of only 2 people on the label that Gucci decided to keep. That should have some significance. That is what loyalty is meant to be. Shiesty reportedly felt bound by the OG's words. I still believe in you. I still want to build with you. Loyalty eluded him. He noticed a cage. It became tighter the more he tugged at it. Shiesty allegedly received money from Gotti to buy out the deal, according to one unreliable street account. But things took a turn for the worse when Gucci declined. The frustration was boiling over. Regardless of the reality of the money discussion, 1017 was what Shiesty wanted off. Gucci declined. And Shiesty allegedly phoned his shooters rather than hiring an attorney, filing a motion, or acting like Prince or any other astute musician with a problem. He made a call to his parents. He scheduled a meeting with the Big 30.
I heard about it from a bunch of people before it really got elevated to the status of being, sort of something that every rap fan knew about.
Adam, 22, affirmed that he has Memphis sources who told him that Shiesty and Gucci had a falling out long before the general public was aware of it, before any formal announcement was made.
I mean, I do feel like if it had no truth to it, that Gucci would have debunked it more forcefully.
The rumors circulated for weeks. Gucci did not show weakness by remaining silent. It was a game of chess. His security detail consisted of off-duty police officers, and the entire event was caught on camera. Gucci wasn't acting carelessly. While the streets spoke, he was allowing the federal authorities to develop the case. Shiesty believed he would be protected by the code. Gucci was aware that the cameras would shield him. The left-hand lick. January 10th, 2026. Texas's Dallas Parkway Recording Studio. This is the point at which the conflict turned into a federal lawsuit. Prison terms started here, and careers ended. Special Agent Brittany Garcia's FBI complaint claims that Shiesty arranged a pretend business meeting at the studio to discuss his 1017 contract with Gucci. Gucci Mane, identified as RD in the court documents, and 2 of his pals were among the 3 victims who arrived. Along with another cop and Gucci's head of security, they took a plane to Dallas. From their point of view, this was a business meeting between 2 men who had been making money together for years. The victims reached the studio, which was located inside a bigger office building, about 1:45 in the afternoon. When they arrived, the spot was already taken. In order to pass the time while they waited, the group went to a booze store and bought bottles and red Solo cups. There was not a single person on Gucci's side who believed that what was going to happen could actually occur. At a label meeting, nobody was anticipating a lick. Lontrell Williams Sr., Shiesty's father, was blowing up the studio owner's phone, referred to as JN in the filing, behind the scenes. When JN picked up at 2:53 p.m., she discovered that the entire session had been reserved so that Shiesty and Gucci could allegedly make songs. Because he trusted the man he had made wealthy, Gucci entered the studio as soon as it opened. Everyone filed in, and the trap was set. When a studio employee came at approximately 3:39 p.m., he discovered Shiesty and his parents standing by the back door, arguing over the phone. The victims were positioned to watch a football game in the studio control room, When 9 people rolled in for a business conversation, 9 is preferable to 2 or 3. 9 people entered the room, and each one of them was aware of their purpose.
So the victim overheard Williams talking on his cell phone with a probation or parole officer, stating that his caseworker had given him permission to be out for rec time.
This is a crazy part. Sitting in a studio in Dallas, Texas, hundreds of miles away from where his ankle monitor indicated he should be, Shiesty was on the phone with his PO. He was informing his probation supervisor that he was allowed to be outside. That was an outright lie. Even Bruce Rivers could not comprehend the level of irresponsibility involved in lying to your PO while you were in the process of putting up a federal offense.
From what the victims could hear, Williams was informed that this was not the case, that he needed to return immediately. Williams Jr. agreed.
He was advised to return home by the PO. He didn't return home. Rather, he asked Gucci to enter a private recording room so they could discuss business. Gucci offered to reschedule the meeting, but Shiesty was unwilling to wait. Gucci consented to the private discussion. The remaining crew members continued to watch the game from the control room. Shiesty's lads were even offered some of the whiskey they had purchased by one of the victims. At least 2 of them poured themselves a drink from a cup. Everyone was cool. For a further 10 minutes or so, the atmosphere was laid back. Shiesty took out pre-made contract termination documents inside that recording room and instructed Gucci to sign them. The documents were already prepared when he arrived. This did not happen on the spur of the moment. This was planned. Gucci declined, and Shiesty became agitated. The discussion became more heated. One of the victims in the control room texted Gucci's security in the lobby after noticing via the glass that things were becoming hostile. Then the bag arrived. Everything changed because of that suitcase. Big 30 was told to go grab his stuff by Shiesty. Shiesty took out a black AK-style weapon and aimed it straight at Gucci Mane. After Big 30 left the room and returned with it at gunpoint in a studio with an ankle monitor on his leg, surveillance cameras rolling, and off-duty police officers on the other side of the wall, he insisted that Gucci sign the release. In federal court,
Now this is felon in possession of a firearm. Okay, if it's a 924C, it's a 5-year mandatory minimum. But if it's used in connection with a crime, it's a 10-year mandatory minimum.
Bruce Rivers calculated the implications of that firearm accusation alone. The math is harsh.
It's actually a consecutive sentence. So whatever your other sentence is, they add 10 years onto it. Unbelievable.
10 years on top of whatever comes next. That number isn't part of a plea deal. A judge cannot change or lessen that. The federal statute stipulates that as an obligatory minimum, and it takes precedence over any other term he receives. Gucci signed the documents. Big 30 and Williams Sr. were present when it took place. Gucci was prohibited from leaving the recording space. Gucci was allegedly forced to declare on camera that he was releasing Shiesty from 1017. After Big 30 took out his phone and recorded the signing, they believed that filming the man they were robbing would be beneficial. Then they went one step farther. Shiesty stole Gucci's earrings, watch, wedding ring, and money. Like a stick-up on any random block, they ran his pockets. The contract was no longer the only issue. This was a private matter. In taking a man's wedding ring off his finger after everything he accomplished for your profession was the height of contempt. The same energy was present outside in the control room. The remaining members of the crew began searching through everyone's possessions while brandishing handguns, AKs, and AR-style firearms. Wallets, jewels, chains, and Rolex watches were all stolen. One victim was shoved onto the couch. Someone else was strangled from behind. McDaniel, one of the co-defendants, repeatedly threatened to shoot a victim for moving. Shiesty told him to relax. In addition to everything else, the fact that Shiesty had to warn his own son not to shoot someone demonstrates how close this whole situation was to being a murder case. They bounced in several cars. The evidence they left behind was sufficient to construct a case 10 times over. Even though no shots were fired, Shiesty's precise location was determined from ankle monitor data. He was being tracked by his GPS the whole time he was there. The 9 defendants' coordinated travel was verified by cell phone records and license plate readers. One of the escape automobiles was rented by his father in his own name. Everything was captured on camera by surveillance cameras from the studio, a local office supply store, and the hotel where several of them stayed. 2 of the defendants' fingerprints matched those found at the crime site. The feds had surveillance, digital, and physical evidence that all pointed to the same 9 individuals. Then came the part that drove Bruce Rivers insane. And the defendants were wearing and flaunting what looked to be the stolen jewelry on social media.
Oh my God, how dumb is this? How dumb are these f***ers? Yeah, I'm flexing. I mean, you're bragging about something you stole, not something you worked for.
Within hours of leaving the studio, a screenshot of a Rolex that was thought to be from the heist was displayed on the page of one of the co-defendants. They were displaying the evidence online so that everyone, including the FBI, could view it. Self-snitching at its best.
The first thing they did was put it on Snapchat and flexed on Snapchat. How dumb do you have to be?
And one more thing that closed the case completely. An AirTag was found in one of the bags they removed from the studio. The victims were able to trace the precise location of their pilfered goods. Even a first-year agent could have closed this case by lunch, thanks to the extensive trail left by Shiesty and his boys, including the ankle monitor, cell records, cameras, social media posts, rental vehicle receipts, license plate scanners, fingerprints, and AirTag. Silly prizes, silly games. The case remained closed for almost 3 months as the federal government assembled its file. They were slow. They collected every GPS ping, every frame of video, and every receipt. Then they knocked on April 2nd, 2026. At the same time, coordinated raids targeted Nashville, Memphis, and Dallas. Out of the 9 accused, 8 were apprehended, including Big 30, Shiesty, and his father, Lontrell Williams Sr. There is still one co-defendant at large. Conspiracy to commit kidnapping under 18 U.S.C. Section 1201 is the charge. Kidnapping by the federal government can range from 0 to life, not county time, state time, or federal time, where you serve at least 85% of your sentence and are not eligible for an early release for good behavior.
One of the individuals that's been charged has not had his initial appearance yet, but agents are actively working to locate and bring him to court.
That eliminates significant years. The Northern District of Texas did not play during their press conference. Judges in this conservative district have no tolerance for this kind of stupidity. That was earlier noted by Bruce Rivers. He had personally witnessed the lack of sympathy exhibited by these Texas federal judges.
This case really underscores the importance of standing up for crime victims, no matter who they are or where they come from.
After meeting a judge from this exact district at a sentencing session, the prosecution highlighted the abundance of evidence, including search warrants and subpoena work. This case had the full might of the FBI, the Memphis Police Department, and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office, and they were pleased with how quickly they resolved it. Subsequently,
they're facing a range, so there's no mandatory minimum in this case. It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment.
The prosecution targeted Shiesty in particular.
A lot of what will guide what's called the sentencing guidelines will be the individual's previous criminal history, the fact that one of these individuals committed the offense while on home confinement.
In the court's opinion, and it is about as terrible as it gets to be caught in a new federal case, while you are literally still serving time on your previous federal conviction. Judges take this aggravating element very seriously since it indicates that the person is not learning. This individual doesn't evolve. Despite having every chance to remain free, this guy chose to discard it. From April 8th to 9th, 2026, U.S. Shiesty was remanded to federal detention in Dallas after Magistrate Judge Renee Harris Tolliver refused to grant him bond. The guns, the possible life sentence, and the ankle monitor infraction were all mentioned by the judge. Shiesty had no intention of leaving. What's even more terrible about the whole situation is this kicker. The contract he coerced Gucci into signing at gunpoint is not relevant. Not even a tiny amount, according to U.S. law. Contracts executed under physical coercion are voidable. The pressured person only needs to deny the signature to make it seem like nothing happened. That release has not been approved by any court. All entertainment lawyers attest that the original 1017 agreement is still in full force. Shiesty ruined his entire life, put 8 of his boys in handcuffs, drew his father into a federal conspiracy case, and was charged with enough offenses to spend the remainder of his prime years behind bars, all for a piece of paper with no legal weight. He is still bound by the contract he was attempting to break. Rick Ross explained what ought to have happened instead, because he has enough experience in the industry to understand how company is supposed to operate.
I don't like it for either side. You know what I'm talking about? Guwap most definitely didn't deserve that, and I don't want to see this for the Lord homie POOH SHIESTY, but
Ross wasn't taking sides. He loved them both. However, he was certain that Shiesty's actions went beyond what any amount of contract dissatisfaction could excuse, and he came up with a straightforward solution.
this has got to be educated and understand. In business, you got to negotiate, my nigga. You got to negotiate.
That's the entire point. You take a seat at the table, you bring attorneys. Through the system, you battle for your value. Throughout his career, Ross had witnessed enough agreements go awry to realize that strength is never effective in the boardroom.
You were signed for 100K and now you got 10 M's on the table. It's time to negotiate.
Ross put it simply, you don't shoot your way out of a contract. You take a seat. You bring attorneys. You bargain. At the table, you battle for your value. Every well-known performer who has ever avoided a terrible deal did it through negotiation rather than coercion. Prince battled Warner Brothers for years while writing "slave" on his face. He went through the system and ultimately prevailed. Despite the nasty and public nature of the situation, the game is meant to be played in this manner. Gucci Mane took action on April 10, 2026, the day following the bond denial. He released the Zaytoven-produced song, Crash Dummy, and there was no room for interpretation. Gucci likened himself to Birdman running Cash Money. In the pivotal phrase, "Tell the truth, you went out like a real crash dummy. And after all that, boy, you still signed to me." He referred to the gathering as a setup. He rapped about people mistaking his generosity for weakness, and about smiling in your face before stabbing you in the back. He stated, "You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes." Most significantly, he informed everyone that Shiesty is still on 1017. Nothing changed as a result of the compelled paperwork. The lick didn't work, yet the agreement is still in effect. There was a divide in the culture. Shiesty was perceived by some as an artist who lost it in an attempt to get out of a poor agreement, a label slave who took the wrong approach, but was genuinely frustrated, biting the hand that fed you and running up on the OG who gave you your entire career. From Memphis drill to platinum plaques, was perceived by others as blatant disrespect. 50 Cent started making fun of Gucci on the internet by bringing up previous conflicts and incidents. Although Yo Gotti remained silent in public, speculations regarding CMG's involvement continued to circulate in every hip-hop forum and comment section. Then, false information began to proliferate on social media. Days after the arrests, some unreliable stories claimed that Gucci's affiliates had stabbed Shiesty 23 times while he was being held in federal custody in Dallas. According to some accounts, he was placed under a 23-hour lockdown after stabbing an inmate. With dramatic titles and "Pray for his family" captions, the posts were receiving thousands of shares, but none of it was genuine. No court documents, incident reports from the Bureau of Prisons, or statements from law enforcement verified any form of attack. Due to the strict security measures in place at federal institutions, any such event would result in prompt investigations and public documentation. Simply put, the rumors were engagement bait, people fabricating the truth to get views and clicks. Of all the people who spoke about it, Woody, the Memphis original who participated in the Young Thug YSL trial and has personally gone through the system, had the most candid opinion.
POOH SHIESTY did all that time in jail, in the feds. He around people that have unbelievable cases where it show how far the feds willing to go.
Shiesty spent years indoors with men who were 20, 30, or older. He witnessed firsthand what occurs when the federal government chooses to bury you. After sitting in a cell full of cautionary tales, he returned home and turned into one. In any case,
POOH SHIESTY came home, y'all, and made the first day out, they sent him right back to jail. Pride and ego is our main enemy.
Ego and pride. It always boils down to that. Woody was the first to call it. You get gassed by the streets. You are untouchable, according to your boys. No one in your immediate vicinity will tell you to slow down. Speak with an attorney. Consider the risks you are taking. The crew is not there for that purpose. The individual whose name appears on the indictment is the only member of the team who scatters as the ride stops at a federal courthouse. Ken Woody once said, "You have to know when to walk away. You have to know when to look around and say, 'This is it. I'm done.'" This is because the people in your immediate vicinity adore you, or at least they love the winning version of you. You get gassed by them. They excite you. They convince you that the rules don't apply to you and that you are untouchable. However, when the judge gives your sentence, none of those individuals will be seated next to you. And Woody has first-hand knowledge of that. He described the moment when reality sets in and the handcuffs click as the game becomes more realistic and less enjoyable. When you can't find the folks who supported you yesterday, that is the world's most lonely moment. As you sit in the back of a government car, you realize that everyone who encouraged you to keep going is currently sleeping in their own beds at home. Woody then made a statement that the majority of people in the culture are reluctant to make public. He discussed the cemetery, the corpses therein, and the fact that this is neither Grand Theft Auto nor a television program. These are actual lives with actual repercussions, actual jail terms, and actual funerals. And he posed the topic that no one wants to address. Why are young black guys with wealth unpopular? Because far too many of them use it carelessly. That's not what the system is saying. That individual has gone through the system and emerged with his eyes wide open. Shiesty is 26 years old. The wall was covered in platinum plaques. He had a record deal that most artists coming out of Memphis would give anything for. He had followers, money, and the one thing that the system hardly ever returns: a second chance. He may spend decades or even his life in federal prison if found guilty. For his role in the play's planning, his father is being charged with conspiracy. Big 30, who has been his first partner since before either of them signed a contract, is considering the same. One meeting may have been a phone call to an entertainment lawyer, and now 8 additional men are facing federal time. A trial in the case is anticipated in 2026 or 2027. Additional evidence will surface, including forensic data, witness statements, and complete security footage. Although they haven't yet disclosed their plan, defense lawyers are anticipated to contest identifications and contend that the coercion was exaggerated. Yet the government's case appears to be as solid as it gets, given the ankle monitor data, the social media posts, the AirTag, the fingerprints, and the surveillance footage from various sites. Gucci Mane remains intact. 1017 Records is still in operation. The agreement that Shiesty attempted to destroy with an AK barrel is still in effect. And Shiesty, who believed that street movements could resolve a business issue, is sitting in a federal detention center in Dallas, exchanging his ankle monitor for a jumpsuit. That concludes this video. But stay put, because we have a lot more heat in store for you. To keep it locked, simply tap any of the cards that are now displayed on your screen.